Have you ever tried stenciling on vellum? Well, I have to say, it's such a fun technique because it gives your project this soft, elegant look. Today, I'm excited to share 2 cards I made using this technique. These cards are part of the Altenew Educator Instagram hub, and there's also a fun giveaway happening. Altenew is giving away 5 $20 gift certificates, so make sure you join in for a chance to win. Just head over my Instagram, start with my hub post, and follow along with the instructions to hop through all the amazing projects. I hope you'll join us and enjoy all the beautiful inspiration everyone has created. Hi friends, Mehnaz here. Welcome back to my channel. For today's project, we're exploring stencil stories. So let's get started. I did a little bit of prep off camera. I used the timeless glue mini delight set to die cut the little table and vase from the brushed gold cardstock. I also cut the lamp and greenery from white cardstock. For these cards, I wanted to see how I could use one single vellum panel to create 2 different designs. So, for one of the card, I took an A2 white panel and die cut the center using the third largest die from the nesting Serene Archways die set. Now, it's time for our stencil story. I'll be using the Whispers in the Canopy Craft Your Life project kit. This is such a beautiful and versatile kit. It comes with a large stamp set, a layering die set, a layering stencil set, and a matching 3D embossing folder. For today's card, I'll be focusing mainly on the stencil and coordinating embossing folder. Next, I took a piece of 6.5 by 6.5 inch of vellum and secured it onto my StampWheel sticky mat. This makes it much easier to keep the vellum in place while I'm working. Now I'm going to stencil the whispers in the canopy background directly onto the vellum. Because vellum is quite translucent, it can sometimes be a little tricky to see where you already have applied the ink. So, I placed a piece of white paper underneath the vellum, and this simple trick really made a big difference. It helped the colors show up more clearly and made the stenciling process much easier. Once I finished all the stenciling, I ran the vellum through my die cutting machine using the 3D embossing folder. And just look at this texture. The embossed details are absolutely gorgeous. They add so much dimension and elegance to the vellum without taking away from that soft, delicate look. Now, let's move to create the panel for the other card. For the background, I'm using another Craft Your Life project kit called the Drawing Board. This is another stunning kit with so many beautiful design elements. I started by embossing the 3D frame design onto an A2 white cardstock panel, positioning it right in the center. Then using the first background stencil in the same kit, I stenciled the panel lightly using the Morning Frost Fresh Dye Ink. To highlight the embossed details, I first ink blended Citronella Fresh Dye Ink over the raised areas. I used a piece of scrap paper to mask the outside of the frame, keeping the ink neatly contained. I'm not really concerned about the inside section because we will be removing that portion later. Next, I took the green gold fresh dye ink and gently swiped the ink pad directly onto the raised embossed areas. This technique helps emphasize the texture and adds extra depth and dimension. Again, using the same masking method to keep the surrounding area clean. To create the frame opening, I poked a small hole in the center of the embossed panel. This allowed me to easily insert my scissors and carefully fussy cut along the inner edge of the frame. After trimming it out, we are left with a beautiful dimensional frame with an open center, perfect for showcasing our vellum design. Now that our frame is ready, it's time to bring all the elements together. To create two cards from this single vellum panel, I first positioned both die-cut frames on top of the stenciled and embossed vellum. Then I lightly marked where I needed to trim so I could get two perfectly sized pieces to fit behind each opening. To adhere the vellum behind the frame, I first positioned it so the stencil design was exactly where I wanted it to show through the opening. Then I used a small piece of masking tape on the front to hold both pieces in place. Once everything was aligned, I carefully flipped the panel over and secured the vellum to the back with tape. I chose tape instead of liquid glue because it provides the instant hold and avoids the drying time. Once everything was secured, I simply trimmed away the excess vellum around the edges. The same step was repeated for the Archways panel to adhere the vellum. Next, I added the die-cut element from the Timeless Glue Mini Delight set onto the drawing room panel. I arranged the table, vase, lamp, and greenery around the frame to create a little cozy scene. For the Archways panel, I used the whispers in the Canopy stencil and stenciled it onto the background using the same Morning Frost Fresh Dye Ink to add a little interest in the background. And to finish both cards, I added sentiments from the Wholehearted Sentiment Mother's Day edition stamp set. To make the color pop on the vellum, I adhere both panel onto another A2 white panel. And voila, our cards are completed. The combination of stenciling, vellum, and 3D embossing creates so much dimension and texture without making the cards feel too heavy. I really enjoyed exploring a different way to use stencils today. Stenciling on vellum gives a softer, more delicate effect, and pairing it with embossing takes it to another level. Please let me know in the comments what you think about this technique. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspirations. I'm putting more videos here so you can check them out. Until next time, from my desk to yours, happy crafting!